talking Android today here with Jack Wallen. Hi, everybody. Karen Roby, Jack Wallen here. Some big changes coming for Android here, Jack.
Yeah, they were announced at Google I/O, and I think I actually have Android 12 beta installed here on this old Pixel 4, which was one of my favorite phones I've ever had. It's pretty amazing. I mean, you probably can't see this, but now if you look at the interface, it's
totally
vastly different.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of times when companies like this announce they're going to seriously change the interface, a lot of times you're like, oh no, don't do this.
Oh no.
This time around, however, Google has done everything right. Now, you kind of have two schools of thought. You know, you either you don't want to break something that's not fix something that's not broken, or you always want to keep users and consumers interested.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I feel like that Google has fallen behind in is the interface. When you compare them to the most recent iOS interfaces, iOS has been pretty slick for a long time. It's beautiful. I don't use iOS because I'm not a fan of it, but there's just certain things about iOS that I wish that Google would go, oh yeah, maybe we should pay attention to this. Well, I think they have. And we have been used to a certain interface with Android for a while now. The card interface and the notification shade is you know, it's just stacks of cards and that's it. It's pretty simple. But what Google has done is they've finally made this a bit more interesting. And it's not just the way it looks, it's the way it moves. All of the animations are now smooth, and instead of up until Android 12, the animations in Android have just been kind of, they always feel like an afterthought. Yeah, the notification shades comes down smoothly and you know, it's fine, but there's no playfulness to it. There's no dynamic to it. And now what Google has done is they finally opened their eyes to realize that form should be as important as function. And they've taken that to a new level, a level that iOS doesn't have. And what they've done is they've taken material design and turned it into what they're calling Material U. Now, even on the beta, this isn't available yet on the beta. And I don't think they're going to make Material U fully realized until the full release of Android. What it's going to do is going to be really cool. Material U is going to theme itself based on your wallpaper that you have. So right now I have a very green wallpaper, and if I pull it down, I've had to actually manually go through and make those changes so that the UI elements are green.
Right.
It's pretty basic. But when the full release comes out, Android is going to take all of its color hinting from your wallpaper. So all of the widgets are going to be based on the primary and secondary and tertiary colors of your wallpaper. So it's really going to be a very personal, because whatever wallpaper I put on this is going to design the UI, and I can either create my own wallpaper using the GIMP or something like that, or I can download a wallpaper from the network or from the internet. And so what it's going to do is when it highlights and creates this color palette for all of the widgets, no one else is going to have that same color palette unless they're using the exact same wallpaper that I use. So what's nice about this is that the Android interface is going to be unique. And I think it's something that Android has been missing for a long time. And I know that a lot of people, it's very interesting, especially when you get into the business world and enterprise businesses and enterprise use cases and such. And I think that this is kind of an oversight, but they tend to shove the form to the side. It's all about function. It just has to function. This could, as far as enterprise users and business users are concerned, this could be nothing but a block with some squares and some buttons.
Yeah.
And as long as it allowed me to do what I needed to do, everything's fine.
Right, right.
That's not the way society works. That's not the way consumers work. And no matter how much we want to say, these are all business phones and blah, 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 they're not. These are consumer phones.
Yeah.
Every smartphone on the market is marketed toward consumers. They're not marketed towards businesses because the majority of people using these things are consumers. So Android and iOS and anybody else that wants to make a smartphone has to understand that if they want to truly market it, they got to market to consumers, because people are going to have their phones and they're going to take them to work and they might use them at work, but they're still consumer phones. Right. So form has got to matter. And Apple gets it. Apple has understood that for a very long time. They have some of the best designers on the planet. Yep. And Google has finally said, well, maybe form should matter. So they're really don't do that. I got to be careful when you have Google Assistant enabled. Be careful how you say Google. Right. Otherwise, I can't tell you. I mean, because I've been in interviews or recording videos or something, and I have multiple Android devices lying around, and then from everywhere you get Google Assistant chiming in. But and there are other nice little touches, like with Android 12, there's going to be users. This is real. I think this is really, really important here, and it's a feature that a lot of people have overlooked. When Android 12 finally comes out, the full release, they're going to make it possible for users to quickly enable or disable the mic and the camera. And it's not just on a per app basis. It'll be in the quick settings, and you could just tap it to disable the mic and the camera, and it's global. So when you disable those, they don't work. So if you're really paranoid, no one's spying on you with your mic or your camera because they are disabled. So, and I think another nice feature, and this will be a feature that might appeal more to businesses, but it certainly has appeal to users as well. There's going to be a app permissions dashboard. So you go to the dashboard and you can see all of the app permissions that have been granted, and you can manage them there instead of having to navigate to the app permissions through the system settings. It'll just be a nice little handy dashboard. And there will also be another thing about that camera and mic enable, disable. There's going to be an indicator up in the notification shade, I believe. Either that or in the quick settings. They haven't been clear about that, but it will tell you when the app or when the mic and the camera are in use by an app. So that'd be nice. Yeah. So if you're not using an app and you see that the camera or the mic indicator is up there, you know that something is using it. Right. And if you're really paranoid, you can go into the quick settings and turn them off.
I think that's a great feature.
Yeah, it is. And so Google is finally realizing that two things are very important: the way the users interact with their phone and the user's privacy. Now, they've always known that privacy is important, right? But they've kind of lagged behind a little bit. And it's especially important now with not only 75% of the global smartphone users are using Android, which is massive. It's also that there are more malware, more hack attempts. There's just, security is just at an all-time high, and it's only going to continue to grow. So every little tiny step that Google or Apple can take with smartphones to make them more secure should be considered a step forward, even if it's a small little step. Right. Progress is still progress.
Right. And I think people are starting to become more aware of how important it is. Before they'd be like, well, whatever, or I got breached or my email, but they're finally getting that. Yeah.
And another really nice feature is that in Google Photos, you're going to be able to lock you're going to be able to password protect photos.
Ah,
So that if you open it up, because right now, if you open up Google Photos, every photo you have is just going to show, it's going to be visible. So with Android 12, you're going to be able to password protect. I don't know if it's just files, just photos, or folders. It's probably just photos, but those password protected photos will not appear until the password is entered. Another nice feature,
yeah.
because how many times, I mean, it's not happened to me. I can open up my photos and show everything. It's mostly cats and screenshots and things like that. But I do know people that have either inadvertently or advertently
Right.
taken photos they probably didn't want people to see. And they open up their Photos app and, whoa, hey, what's that?
Hey, yeah,
So
yeah,
they can,
yeah.
they can now password protect those. And for example, here's a good example of that. There have been occasions where I've had to take photos of a driver's license or
Mhm.
something like that, or a social security card or whatever, and
Right.
send it to someone. I can now password protect that file and keep it on my phone, because usually when I take photos like that, I immediately delete them because I don't want them on my phone
Right.
but now with them being password protected, I can leave them on there so I can use them again later. And I don't have to worry about people seeing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a nice feature.
Yeah. So I think ultimately Android 12 is going to be the most personable and
Mhm.
personal and personalized Android release we've seen to date. I think it's also going to be probably the fastest. I think they've done a lot to improve performance and battery. Like with the Pixel 5, the difference between the Pixel 4 and the Pixel 5 battery life is insane. The Pixel 5 battery life it's 12 o'clock and I still have 94% on my battery.
Wow.
So, and I think that with the Pixel 6, which will have Android 12 and a few extra nice tweaks
Mhm.
to Android for the Pixel 6 in particular, which will be using the Whitechapel chip. Rumor, I don't know if they've officially announced it or not. But I think the Pixel 6, and I made mention of this on a previous article, I think the Pixel 6 is going to be the closest thing to the perfect Android phone we've ever seen.
Wow. That's a
Because
big
I think,
statement. Yeah.
especially the Pixel 6 Pro, because
Mhm.
it'll have 3 cameras, and so it'll satisfy the anybody who buys phones particularly for cameras. But I think the performance and the battery life and the personalized UI and the added security measures they're taking, I think I haven't been this excited for an Android phone ever, I don't think.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited, and I think the Pixel 6 and Android 12 are going to work together incredibly well. And I think that if anybody wants the best Android 12 experience, the Pixel 6 is going to be the way to go.
Yeah, and that folds nicely to, before I let you go, I want to ask you a quick question. I feel like maybe it was now, before the pandemic, even maybe a year before that, I feel like we got to a point, and a lot of our interviews and a couple of our stories here and there were around this idea that people were just kind of bored with phones. Like, what else
Yeah.
are we going to do with them? I mean, we were kind of at a stale place, I feel like. Do you think we've kind of gotten past that now? Maybe there's something else to look forward to or excited about?
Yeah, well, like I said, the Android UI has been, it's like they've been taking little incremental steps forward with each release. And I can look at Android 11 and compare it to Android 10, and there's not a whole lot of difference.
Right.
Same thing holds true with Android 9. Android 12, the difference, when I installed the beta of Android 12, I wasn't expecting that much, but when I rebooted the phone and Android 12 came up, I started I mean, even just the lock screens are so much different.
Yeah.
And it's little tiny things that they little tiny changes that they made that makes a huge difference. Just like the look of the clock on the lock screen, where they've removed it from the center, and they moved it up to the up left corner, and they made the time larger. It used to be where without my glasses, because I'm getting old, I now with Pixel or Android 12, I can look at it without my glasses on and see what time it is, and it just looks sleeker and more modern. And I think that's important for phone for operating system designers. And, you know, you see it's happening with desktop operating systems too now, you know, especially within the Linux world. The developers have finally realized we have to not just keep up with other designers and, you know, UX specialists. We have to go past them. And it's really exciting because there are some amazing designs coming out, and I think Android's going to really capture some attention with 12.
Yeah,
I think we'll see. I think this might be one of those times where we see more iOS users leave for Android than any other release. Now, of
really.
course, you know, that's a phenomenon that's isolated to like America and I think Japan. Those are the two countries where Android or iOS has a larger market share than anywhere else. But it's mostly the Asian countries that are the Asian countries that are pulling Android up into the 75% global market share, because and there's a lot of reasons for that.
Right,
but,
right.
I think that Android 12 and the Pixel 6 might actually make some headway in the US.
Wow. Well, I look forward to seeing it because it's something exciting to talk about, you know,
Yeah.
something cool and that people can get excited about. Well, Jack, I certainly appreciate it. And obviously we'll follow up here in a couple months and see how things are rolling with this.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching us. Make sure you check out TechRepublic for much more.